Good afternoon, Toronto. We are back for part two of the interview with Joy Labs. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Joy Labs, the Radioregent broadcast facilities on the Koolbreeze Experience Show. My name is Curtis Anthony. Welcome to Radioregent. Joy, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you on my show. We're going to talk about your evolution, your vision, mission, and spirituality of your music. But before we get into all of this, how have you been?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm very good.
Very nice.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. First of all, how did you get into beating the steel band? What drove you?
Well, I would say there's two stories. The first, I was on my grandmother's porch in Antigua. My family's from Antigua.
Okay.
And maybe about 5 years old, and I remember just one evening just sitting on her porch and hearing a small ensemble down the street and wanting to go and see that, and my mom took us to see it. So that, I think that is my first recollection of hearing steel pan outside of recordings that my dad would have had in his record collection.
Okay.
And then when I used to attend the Anglican Church of the Nativity, which is in Scarborough, and a predominantly Caribbean community.
Okay.
And the minister there decided to introduce steel pan as a thing to do, and there's always something to do for families or just different activities. And because I think we had a predominantly Caribbean community, we had steel pan, we had West African dancing, along with tutoring. And my godmother came with her checkbook because she also attended that church with us, and she said, "I'm going to pay for your first lessons," and my parents continued to nurture that, and so that was how I got into it. And I loved it. My sisters also played, but it really stuck with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what's a normal day for you, like outside of this music business?
I do a mix of things. You were talking to Larnell about what it takes to be in the industry, and the big word I would say in terms of what I do is just diversification.
Yes.
And so I play and I write, but I'm also teaching and doing workshops. And then my undergrad is actually in international business. So I also do some work doing some administration for Larnell, because there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, doing my own administration. And then I do some work with an e-procurement consulting firm.
Multifaceted.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's a day. So every day it's a meeting, a skate meeting, practice, the gym, practice, go teach a workshop, go teach a class, come home, make dinner.
Busy is good.
Yeah.
It keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's something different every day, but very fulfilling.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
And where did your love and passion for music come from, and how that influenced your style as a musician?
Definitely in my home. My mother, she was sang on the choir and loved music, but my dad was also a DJ. So I had a wall full of records and CDs, and every year he would make my sisters and I re-alphabetize it. Nice. Yes. And so he used to promote shows. He used to bring artists like Burning Flames and Crossfire.
Wow.
And so he was very much into, from calypso and soca to jazz. He'd always joke when he'd play the really heavy stuff. He would say, "This is too heavy for you. You can't handle this." Yeah.
Little did he know.
Yeah. So I think that's where it came from. And so he was playing. I come in here and I'm hearing the stuff that you're playing. It's very familiar to me.
Yeah.
So from the Peter Tosh to the Bob Marleys to really heavy jazz, Gladys Knight and the Pips, everything. And then my mother was, she had her collection. She liked country. And I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing. I don't know what it is.
It is.
So she would play like Dolly Parton and Jolene and the Coat of Many Colors and like Willie Nelson and Julio Iglesias. Yeah. And my dad would be like, "Juliet, the girls aren't going to have any rhythm if you play that stuff." But it all came together.
It does. I grew up on country too.
So I have an appreciation for all of it.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. What would you say the one thing more than any other that accounts for your success? Talent, luck, charm, hard work, passion?
I would say my family, my community,
Yes.
and I think just God's gift of music,
Mhm.
and I think when we're given gifts, we have to use them, and so I think and in using that and understanding how that affects people,
Yeah.
I think those are some of the things that are really important.
Great, great. Wow, music everywhere. I could feel music all over this room. What are some of the bands you're affiliated with?
So right now I'm doing a lot of work with my own project. And so I have the Joy Labs project. Started out as a trio with Andrew, Stewart, and Larnell. I was in undergrad in music, and I was taking a private lesson with Gareth Burgess.
Yes.
And I had to do a jury, and he said, just play with bass and drums.
Okay.
To show that I understood all my chordal changes and stuff, and so from my jury came a band. So our band is 10 years old, I guess now.
Wow.
And then it grew to a quartet. Now we do, quintet stuff, sextet,
Nice.
now, tendies and playing percussion. We're excited about that. So, yeah, that's my, my focus. And then when I've also over the years have played with Pan Fantasy. I didn't play this year,
Right. Okay.
but I've played with Pan
Love those
Fantasy,
groups.
and so those have kind of been the two things that I've been
Okay.
focused on.
The CD you brought in for me here, Morning Sunrise. The couple of tracks I've heard today. I love this groove already. Tell me, what's so special about this CD you put out here?
This was it was my fourth project,
Okay.
but it was my first project of all original music.
Mm.
So, a very long time ago, Larnell really encouraged me to compose.
Nice.
And I took on the task. So it's all original music and Latin, Afro-Caribbean jazz. It's also special because some of it I recorded in Paris using Andy's Ellie Minette pans. Andy, I went to study there with him.
Nice.
And Andy plays strictly Ellie Minette.
Wow.
For those of you out there, Ellie Minette is a living legend.
Pioneer.
Yeah.
Can you hold that CD up to the camera,
sure.
please? Yes, Joy Labs Morning Sunrise. Yes, it's incredible CD. I got a copy of this baby here. Now, yeah, so is there anything in your musical journey that keeps you grounded and humble?
I would say one of the biggest parts of me is I'm a musician, but I'm also an arts educator and a community arts educator and community arts advocate. So
Got the balance.
Yeah. So and it's a challenge sometimes because when you're not just doing one thing, sometimes, especially when it comes down to like that practice time and the time you can devote to it, it can be limited. But I can say that like my arts education and community arts work is very grounding.
Okay.
It's very rewarding. And so you don't necessarily get to always do music at that level as when you're on the bandstand, but you get to see how music can affect self-esteem, can build community, build teamwork. Like, and sometimes like when you work in the community, when you work in any social service or community arts, they're like those are like they can become these buzzwords that you just kind of throw around. But I truly believe that steel pan, like the steel band, is one of the ultimate community arts platforms in the sense of like it's like the samba school in terms of the fact that you can create music at a really high level, but it's very inclusive of people of all ages and abilities. So you don't have to play a pan to be able to come to the pan yard and do something that's helpful. You could paint a rack, you could push a rack, you could cook some meals or serve some meals. You could take care of the 2-year-old whose mom wants to, who's playing in the band, you know what I mean, playing in the band. And I think it really brings people together.
A love and a respect kind of communal
And I've seen over the years, whether it's you're in Trinidad and people have this space, you know, it's really nice because every community has their steel band,
Right.
and then it's a little bit more challenging for us to do here in a place where not all the steel bands have spaces, you know, it costs money,
Yeah.
and obviously like in Canada, steel pan is not the national instrument, so we're not necessarily committed to making sure that every steel band has a home,
Right.
but I feel that it's this place where people feel a sense of belonging.
Yes.
And it's real.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
I would say it's the community art side that keeps me grounded.
Good stuff. Nice. Well said. For those who just joining us, Joy Labs, Radio Regent, and the Koolbreeze experience. Joy, tell me, how's the experience like playing pan in a male-dominated genre? How was that for you? Putting your CD out there. Any challenges, things like that?
I would say that it's twofold because you get some opportunities because you're a woman.
Okay.
But you don't always want to get that opportunity because you're a woman. You want to legitimately be able to play,
Right.
play or like keep up with your heat.
Right.
You know, so it's important for me to come out there and arrange music and compose music and be able to play through those changes competently.
Right.
So I would definitely say it's can be a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
But
Okay.
and I think sometimes people forget that although steel pan is male dominated, it's very much something I think that just comes historically out of, you know, like there was probably more males in marching bands and there was probably, you know, and so it's up to us to change that. But I think it's also important to recognize that a lot of women are the backbone of the steel pan community.
True that.
You know, because, you know, there's a lot that happens administratively, you know, in the ensemble.
Right.
So, and I'm in Pan Fantasy, and I would easily say that it's a 50-50 female to male like player ratio.
Yes.
So, but definitely when you're speaking about, you know, women, people who are leading their own ensembles and bands, arrangers, I don't want to say prominent, but the many that are in leadership roles in the industry, it is definitely dominated by males.
Okay. Now, I went to Afropan last Sunday, and I was watching Afropan play, and I was amazed, like you just said, the amount of women in the band. That's progress.
Yes.
And they were playing really good, and they're in the lead. What blew me away is when the rhythm hit their soul, and the girls start to get down and whine and play pan. I have never seen that. Like, all of a sudden, I wasn't seeing the head of the girl play. She was underneath the pan, beating
but her hands
in
were
time,
still up
and
there.
then get up and start whining, and I go, wow, we've kind of come a long way. Bring the woman on the bass, boom, 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 boom. Put the woman on the bass.
Yes.
I was amazed, and the sound. There's something about steel band music that just hits the soul. And I'm trying to videotape this thing from an angle because it's so huge, and comb and try to get one new half of the band because it is challenging. It's a big orchestra.
Yes.
And I was saying the first time I ever did it with my camcorder, I did all kinds of variations, but a steel band, thank God for external microphone. Trust me, because the sound, it captures that. If you record with a camera, without the camera, distorted, and it comes like a bulldozer. It came out really good. I have it up on YouTube.
Nice.
So I'd like to capture Pan Fantasy one day and really showcase them. But musicians. Now, Joy, I've got to ask you too, making a living as a musician, especially with Pan in Toronto, is that a sustainable thing?
I would say again, it's important to diversify. There's work. There is definitely work. If you're willing, like once you're willing to teach and gig and do all sorts of gigs, you know, I think I'm at a place where I really want to focus on being in and playing in spaces where I can really show my creativity.
Yes.
Which, so it's, you can always get a cocktail gig, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's not always the most, you know, creative thing to do. But I will say there's enough work to go around.
Okay.
And there's enough opportunities that are available. I'm very big on, you know, whether you're speaking to about being a musician or as a pianist or you know, any other instrument. My dad is like a financial planner, so I come from that background of it's very important to
managing
me
money.
that it's managing the money, and it's not even about being filthy rich.
Yes.
It's about investing.
Yes.
It's about managing risk through insurance and understanding how, as a self-employed person in general, an artist, like our systems are not set up for us.
Right.
So you don't just go to work every two and then get a, you know, paycheck, and then your employer puts some money in your pension.
10 times harder.
You know, there's so much more to think about,
Right.
and it's very difficult. And oftentimes the creative mind, it just like they don't it doesn't work well.
Yes.
That side of things.
Yes.
They don't necessarily excel in that thing. So I'm very passionate about making sure that musicians understand, like, you have to have that critical illness insurance, you have to have that life insurance, you have to put that money aside.
Absolutely.
You have to put that tax money aside because they will come for you
at the worst moment.
at the worst moment. And even just, you know, exploring, like trying to buy a home or do all that stuff as a self-employed person, it's very, very, very challenging. So you have to, like, everybody else has to kind of like just go to work and make a decent living. You have to go to work, make a decent living, and make sure that you're on top of all these other things. And so the question, how is it to make a living as a self-employed musician? It's extra work, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Nice, delightful. Joy, for you as a female artist, when you play your music, where do you get that energy from that hits you and you say, wow, let me strike up that pan real good there on stage and get my groove going? What's that like for you?
It's easiest when you're playing with other people.
Right.
That the energy that you get. I think it's funny. I was talking, if you know Anthony Pierre.
Yes. I had him on my show.
Tony, you know.
Tony Pierre, amazing.
Leader of a beautiful ensemble,
Calabash. Yes.
It was raining last night, and it was, you know, just the weather wasn't the greatest, and our, you know, Lampport's not covered, and he said, why do we do this? Why do we do this? You know,
it's a love,
you know, and it's a passion, and I'm not always able to play in Pan Fantasy. It's a lot of time, and when you're also doing this as a living, you can't always spend that much time in the pan yard, and it's not always a feasible thing. But it's every time I do it, I come home after the first night, and I say to Larnell, it's like you almost forget what it feels like to feel like 50 other players behind you. Like, there's just something about feeling that much steel pan around you, or whether, like, I was, you know, doing work playing samba or something, or when you're like, you just happen to be close to the rhythm section, and that rhythm section and the iron and the congas and the drums, like, it's just, there's no way to describe it. And I think it's that feeling. So I would say in the ensemble experience. And then I think the other thing that gets me is, and you don't always feel it in the moment, but it's how you impact people and how music can impact the atmosphere, and how people receive that, and how they respond to that. So, and sometimes it doesn't happen right in that moment. It's like you play or you put out an album, and then someone sends you an email, or the fact that someone wants you to play. You know, fortunately I've played a lot of weddings, and unfortunately played at a lot of funerals, and you realize, like, you're actually being a part of someone's most important life, like those moments in life. And whether you're there physically or it's your album that's playing, like, that's what, when you're producing music, like, that's what people are going to do with it. They're living life, like, you're the backdrop to their life experience. And so I've had emails from people that said, my dad was on his deathbed, and this is the only thing he wanted to listen to. And they'll come and they'll be like, so now I want to buy 10 of these for my family because it's important to our family, because it was important to my dad.
Right.
Or some at one point somebody said to me, he wrote me a Facebook message and he said, I owe you $20. And I was like, why? he said, oh, I had a burnt copy of your CD and I need to buy this because of what it meant to this person in my family.
Yes.
And you don't realize, or someone writes me and it's like, this is the only thing that will put my baby to sleep.
Oh, it's great.
It's
inspiring moments.
And so you kind of, sometimes you're just like, and it's funny because I'm transitioning into some different music than what I was recording before, and I realized that, like, even though I want to change and I want to evolve, I have to remember, like, how that music impacted other. And I'm, you're a perfectionist, and you're like, that was me 10 years ago. I can't believe I played that note. That
was the best at the time and the best when you know.
Yeah.
And you evolve.
But it's like, and even though that's what it was, it's like it still impacted people.
Of course.
And I think there's a part of creating music that's about, like, what it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a part of music about, like, how are we serving people? How are they receiving it? How is it affecting them in these, in all times of their life, in all these moments? So, yeah, I think that's
I'm with you, because many times I question myself, like, why do you do Koolbreeze? Why do you do this?
Yeah.
Because it's hard work, what I do, the filming and the whole bit. But it's a love, and there's a machine, a fire inside that drives me. You got to do it like a work. You love it, you go do it, and how it impacts people. And a couple artists, I met an artist last week, said to me at the jazz festival, you don't realize the impact, the magnitude of what you created at Radioregent. And I go, wow. He said, dude, two people have told me that. And I go, it just fuels the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do more.
Because it's the thing, like, what are people doing? Like, if I was in here, if I wasn't going out to a gig, I'd be home, and I would maybe, like, cooking for the day, or cleaning, or just relaxing on the porch, and it's like, and essentially you're that backdrop. Yeah. Whether it's the radio or an album or what have you, like, a lot of times we don't do, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a musician, but I don't do a lot of things in silence.
Okay.
Like, there's always something playing, you know what I mean?
Hear you.
And it creates a mood. If I'm running, I listen. If I'm doing my devotion, it's something. And it's like all these people that have created something or created music, it's like they're a part of my life, and they help to set the atmosphere, or the atmosphere that I'd like to create in that moment.
Okay.
So it's that's why someone would tell you something like that.
That's great. I'm glad we're getting these stories out there. Joy, what was your big break turning point that accelerated your growth with the music?
I would say it. I really. There's so many things that happen in life that you're just like, why am I here? Why am I doing that? And I think God has it all planned out, and we're just eventually we'll be like, oh, that's what you meant when that thing happened. Yeah. So I think, because I had no intention of doing this.
Really?
No, in fact, when I got to university, when I was applying for university, I didn't think that I knew enough about music to go into a music program. That's how I ended up in a business program. I was a music nerd. Like, I played in the recorder club and played alto sax and bari sax, but I just didn't think I knew enough, because I was focused on pan also, and because there's a lot of informal things that it's not formalized. There's a lot of, at least in the way that I learned steel pan, and so I just didn't think that I was prepared for this.
Right.
So I was kind of just doing it, and my dad was like, why are you in this business program? And I wasn't even, like, in an easy business. I was in the most difficult business program. He's like, why are you doing this? Yeah. And at the same time, so I'm playing, and I think part of it was the performance opportunities. Vince Cato was my first teacher, so he would take me on gigs, and we would do duo gigs together, and then eventually be like, Joy, go do that gig for me. And I think that opened up opportunities. And you don't realize people want this stuff, because I had no intention. And then my dad had worked with Eddie. He used to do these Golden Soul classic show with Eddie back in the day. And he knew Eddie, and literally one day he's like, Joy, you're making a CD. I was like, what? Okay. So we went, and that was the first day that I remember meeting Eddie, though I probably had met him as a child. And then one day we were in the process, and, like, I was going to York University. I was living with my aunt because she lived closer. And my dad calls. He's like, "Joe, you're doing a photo shoot tomorrow." And I'm like, "I'm a black girl. You can't tell a black girl the day before that you're doing a photo shoot."
Ouch.
You know?
Okay.
And, you know, and like, I live with my aunt in the week and I go back home on the weekends. So I don't even have like my wardrobe is not ready.
Ooh, gotta be prepared, enough notice.
But I think he's a big part of that, you know, and because,
good.
and when you have an album, your music lives past your performances. And so I definitely think that was a big part.
Joy, tell us some of the bands you played with, gigs you played, and artists you played with.
Different works that I've done. Oh man, a lot of like it's been a lot of steel band stuff.
Okay,
A lot of my own stuff.
All right.
And then, oh man,
Any quartets, quintets?
I've sat in here and there, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of my work is my own work.
Okay.
I'm blanking.
Okay, that's good. I first heard you. Many years ago. I had that CD. I can't find the CD. I dug up the whole place, but I'm on holidays. I'm gonna tear my place apart. You played a gospel.
Yeah.
Was that your first album?
That was my first one.
And I go, wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing talent here. This is good.
Yeah.
But I've got to look for that album. Where can your music be purchased?
You can find it on iTunes. That's the main
You
place.
use CD Baby?
You know what? I was at Indie Pool and they just stopped selling or sending like physical packages.
Really?
Like literally, about 2 weeks ago, I picked up my music because you could order from them
Okay.
and have them sent out to you.
All right.
So now I will send them. I'll do that personally. So if you
Okay.
hit me up on my website,
Right.
it's joylapse.com, Instagram at joylapsemusic, Facebook Joylapse Music,
Yes.
and so I'm just about to kind of transition to a CD Baby
Good.
to have those things sent out.
Joy, tell the fans where you're playing next.
I'll be at Commerce Court
When?
on Wednesday from 11:30 to 1:30.
Okay. All right.
But the next show that I would really like people to come out to is the Newmarket Music Festival.
I gotta get that.
Yeah.
This is Larnell Lewis,
And Joylapse.
and you're listening to the Koolbreeze Experience.
It's a euphoric experience.
Wow.